What's up guys, it's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. And this week, the knowledge I'm going to be dropping is probably the knowledge you've been waiting to hear all week. It's my weekly free bet video. So for those of you that do not know, every single week I come on my YouTube channel and I put out a free bet video where I give you guys one free bet for the upcoming UFC card. I also turned this video into an article and I post that up on my website for any of you that like to read instead of maybe watching my video or listening to my voice. I probably will include some other things I do not include in the video as well. So that article is always good to read as well. So last week I gave you guys a juicy underdog plus 140 play on Cody Durden in the free bet video. Unfortunately, that bet was cancelled because the fight was cancelled. Obviously, this is the COVID-19 era, so I wasn't too surprised when I heard that cancelled, although it was very annoying because I had a 2-unit play on Cody Durden at plus 140, and I obviously tipped him to you guys, so that was kind of annoying. I will say, though, that if you guys didn't know also, I do a weekly breakdown and prediction video of one fight on the card. Last week, I did Marvin Vettori versus Jack Hermansson, and I actually tipped Marvin Vettori to get the win there. I had a 3-unit play on him myself. Me and my members cashed on that. So if you didn't get on the Cody Durden, you couldn't have got on him. Like if you missed out on the Cody Durden bet, hopefully you listened to my breakdown video as well and you was able to get on the Marvin Vettori bet. So as I said, last week was a plus 140 bet. The week before that, I gave you a minus 175 bet. It's completely random. This week, I want to say welcome to Chalk City because this is a very chalky bet. We're also doing a parlay. So this is a chalky parlay. So it's like probably the worst thing you can do in the betting industry because there seem to be so much emotions behind backing chalk and betting on parlays that I just feel like it's a lot of people repeating other people's ideas. There's definitely a time and place for parlays. And I actually will go into a video where I break down why parlays can be beneficial. Basically, in short, it has to do with you can risk a lower unit size to earn more. It's obviously way more risky to do this, and I don't recommend doing this long term. But as I say, there's a time and place for them. Some cards call for them. And there is actually a mathematical and a gambling, a professional betting benefit to parlays, which nobody understands. Nobody talks about it. Everybody just slags off parlays all the time. And I understand why, believe me. I've been in this game for a long time. I understand why, but nobody talks about this one benefit that I know of. So I'm going to make a separate video on that. I don't want to go into it today because this is a free bet video, but I am going to make a separate video. But as I said, this is going to be a chalk bet. So welcome to Chalk City. The first fight that we're going to be betting, so this is a 2-fighter parlay, a 2-leg parlay, and the first fight that we're going to be backing is the Cyril Gane versus Junior Dos Santos fight. Now, Cyril Gane is about a minus 400 favorite in this spot right now, and to be honest, I believe that it's capped correctly. The bookies have him at about an 80%, well, exactly an 80% chance of winning the fight, right? The implied probability of a minus 400 odd line is that Cyril Gane should win this fight 8 times out of 10, 80 times out of 100, 8,000 times out of 10,000, whatever you want to say, 80%. And I cap him about 80%. I could even see it creeping up to that 83 to 85% at the time, to be honest. Look, JDS is a shell of his former self at this point. He's been KO'd in his last 3 fights, pretty brutally also. He seems like when he gets cracked once, he goes down now. His chin is deteriorating. He's been KO'd so many times. And this seems to be affecting his game now. Seems to be affecting how he approaches the game. You know, Junior used to be super durable, man. Obviously, he's been knocked out a couple of times in his career. He's been stopped. But I just remember, you know, back in the day, like fighting Kane. Also, when he fought Stipe Miocic, you know, them guys went back and forth for 5 rounds. It was a war. You know, a few years ago, like 4 years ago, when they had the rematch, Stipe knocked him out in about 2 minutes. So that just shows you JDS's chin is deteriorating. And yeah, he seemed hesitant. It seems to be changing his fight style. In his last fight against Rosenstruik, that was probably one of the most hesitant I've ever seen JDS. And look, you're fighting Jairzinho Rosenstruik, so you should be hesitant, right? You don't want to be cracked. And in your heavyweight division, it only takes one. But I just saw a difference to Junior. I think it's his old age, but it's also his understanding that he has been knocked out many times. His chin is deteriorating. He was obviously knocked out prior to that by Francis Ngannou, and he also got knocked out by Curtis Blades, who's a wrestler, so it wasn't a great look because he got knocked out on the feet, got hurt on the feet there. And I just think he understands now that his chin is not what it used to be, and this can affect his game, which obviously isn't good because unless you're like Alistair Overeem, who can completely adapt your game to protect your chin, it's probably not going to work out well for you because you're not going to be doing the stuff that got you the wins in the first place. So look, you can obviously tell we're going to be putting Gane in this parlay, right? Now, Gane, look, Cyril Gane, look, he's a great fighter. We can tell on tape. I do understand that it's a little bit risky backing a fighter at minus 400 against someone who's as good as JDS when we don't know how good Cyril Gane is, right? We just don't know because he hasn't fought at that level yet. But at the end of the day, you don't know until you know, right? So like, we're not going to know how good Cyril Gane is until he fights someone at that upper echelon, which even though Junior's deteriorating, he's obviously still there. Skill-wise, he's obviously still there. So we're not going to know how good Cyril Gane is until he fights Junior Dos Santos. So it's not enough to just say, oh, we don't know how good he is, we can't say he's going to win this fight, because you never know how good someone is until they fight that, right? So I was one of the only people who backed Khamzat Chimaev at about a minus 300 favorite in his debut against John Phillips. People were probably saying, I'm just guessing, there wasn't much talk about Chimaev before the fight, not that I know of, but people were probably saying like, you can't back Chimaev as a favorite, this unknown Russian fighter, or not Russian, but this unknown fighter fighting out of Sweden. You can't back him because he's fighting John Phillips, and John Phillips, even though he's a bit of a shit fighter, he is still in the UFC. He's obviously fought at a higher level than Khamzat Chimaev, so you can't back Chimaev. We don't know how good he is, right? But in some cases, I understand that, but at the end of the day, you just have to go on what you see on tape. And what I saw on tape was Chimaev dominating dudes on the ground. And then, if you go on John Phillips' tape, John Phillips is getting dominated on the ground by people who are not super high level ground fighters. And you can just tell on tape. You can tell by the transitions. You can tell by the power. You can tell by the reaction of the fighters he is facing. Chimaev was on another level wrestling wise, Obviously you didn't know he was on another level, but you could come to the conclusion that this guy is a solid wrestler, And look, we've seen it many times. When they move to the UFC, they don't perform as they did pre-UFC. But look, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get at is the fighter needs the opportunity to prove themselves, right? I believe that Chimaev's opportunity was against Phillips. I was right. He looked about a minus, I don't know, what do you want to say, minus 2,000, 98%? Probably. That's not 98%. That's, yeah. Anyway, he probably looked about a minus 2,000, right? But we got him for minus 300, so enormous value on that line, okay? And in regards to this, I believe this is Cyril Gane's time to shine, and I believe he will shine. Look, he hasn't fought at that level, of course not, but he still fought Tanabosa, who's a solid fighter. Tanabosa's good, and he outclassed Tanabosa, he made it look easy. Let's be real. Against Don'Tale Mayes. Don'Tale Mayes is not the worst fighter, he just got a win over Rocky Martinez, which it's not saying much, but look, he still fought at, let's say, somewhat of a decent level, especially that Boza fight, right? Look, Cyril Gane is a high level fighter. You can just tell by the way he fights. In his second fight, he fought a guy who was 7-0, and he knocked him out in about 2-3 minutes. Fact check me on that, but it's roughly that, right? I believe it was a first round KO. Sure, it was his second fight, and the guy was 7-0. So look, he might have been 7-0 against bums, but you can just tell by the way Gane fights. He's got that karate style. He's in and out. He's more of a volume striker. Throws very good side kicks. He's got good leg kicks. He's got good power, although he doesn't seem to have one-shot knockout power. Against JDS, we might very well see that one-shot knockout power, if not a knockout. I don't think he's got a knockout in the UFC yet. It's been submission or decision for him. I'll just double check that quickly. But at the end of the day, he's a heavyweight, and we know that he obviously can crack, you know. Yeah, he doesn't have a knockout in the UFC yet. He's got 2 submissions and 1 decision. And he's coming in from a kickboxing background, so it's very good to see 2 submissions in the UFC on his record, so we know that he can actually fight on the ground as well. Look, there's not much more to say about this fight. I believe minus 400 is about right. I could even put him up the minus 500 range. So I think there is marginal value there, and we will be putting him in on the first leg of our parlay. The second leg of our parlay is Davison Figueiredo against Brandon Moreno. So I'll go into this fight quickly. Look, Figueiredo's a beast. Okay, he's a monster. His athleticism is crazy. His power is ridiculous for a flyweight. His strength is ridiculous for a flyweight. His precision is second to none. He doesn't throw much volume, but he doesn't need to, because when he does land, it's lights out, or it's lights switched off for a second at least, because man, you can just tell, you know, when he's fighting somebody, their face, you know, I mentioned this in a video, my video a few days ago about Justin James. When Justin James hits people, their face changes slightly. And it's the same with Figueiredo, man. When he hits people, their face is like, whoa, like, what just happened to me? Was that a punch? Because that shit felt like a baseball bat. And it's like you saw Joe B, man. Like when Joe B fought Figueiredo that second time, he was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I'm just getting dropped left, right, and center. I think he dropped him like 4 times in that fight. And Joe B, you know, no matter what you say about he's faded and stuff, and you know, he crumbles at the big occasions, he's a high level fighter. He's still a high level fighter. He's coming back to fight Askar Askarov. So, you know, mentally he's not checked out. Anyway, Figueiredo's a beast, man. And yeah, fighters are shocked when they get hit by him. And I think Moreno's going to be shocked here, man. Look, we know the way to beat Figgy, right? Although it's not easy, it's probably just to grind him out, maybe to wrestle him, to put him against the fence. Maybe you can outpoint him, but it's going to be hard to outpoint him, because for every 10 strikes you land, his 1 strike is probably going to damage you more than them 10 strikes. So it's going to look worse for the judges, you know, like for the judges' eyes, it's going to look worse. So it's crazy, because you could be outpointing this dude, right? And by the way, he's got amazing counters. He's got amazing precision. He's got amazing distance control and timing, although he does get hit a lot, but that's his game. So it's not just going to be easy to outpoint him, because like he's a fucking solid counter striker. So you're going to be hesitant on the way in because of his power and his counter striking ability anyway. But I'm just saying, if you did have a game plan to beat Figgy, definitely grind him out and wrestle him, because Formiga was able to do that. Although Figgy was coming on strong in that last round. But, you know, that's one way to beat him. Maybe the other way I was suggesting would be to outpoint him, right? Stay on the outside, blah, 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 pitter, patter, patter. But the thing about that is, the why it's so risky is that you could be winning that fight, right? You could be winning that round. You could be winning 4 minutes of that round, in and out, in and out. But you get cracked once and you get dropped, or your eye gets bust open, or your nose starts pouring with blood. And the judges remember that. The judges see that. Figgy's like smiling, you know, you're hitting him in the face, you're kicking him, he's smiling, he's pressuring forward. You're in and out, using all your movement, using loads of, backpedaling a lot. Figgy's throwing strikes, you're stumbling backwards, even though you're landing more. Just to the judge's eyes, it looks like Figgy's doing more damage, and he likely is doing more damage when he lands. So he's a hard man to beat. If he didn't have that Formiga loss, he'd be undefeated right now, and he'd be talked about as like, I mean, I believe he already is, but like he'd be talked about even more as like one of the best champions in the UFC. I just want to double check that. I'm pretty sure that was his only loss to Formiga. Yeah, it was. He's 20-1. So he'd be 21-0 right now if he didn't have that loss to Formiga, which would be solid, you know, because like, you know, could be 28-0 and he'd be 21-0, but that didn't happen. But look, Moreno, let's talk about Moreno, because that's his opponent, right? And that's who we're betting against. So look, I like Moreno. I think he's a solid fighter. Actually, Moreno is one of my favorite fighters, because I actually had money on Askar Askarov, which a lot of people did, to beat Moreno when they fought. And Moreno kind of just won me over in that fight. Like the way he was fighting, I believe he should have won that fight. I was happy when I got a draw. And I need to think why he got a draw. There must have been a 10-8 in there somewhere, but like, who could have got a 10-8 in that fight? I mean, it obviously must have been Askarov, because then they would have gave Moreno the other 2 rounds. But I haven't watched that fight in tape study for this fight. So if anybody of you can just let me know, like, how was that fight scored a 10-8? It must have been, sorry, how was that fight scored a draw? It must have been a 10-8 somewhere. Maybe, yeah, I don't remember that fight being so dominant either way where it could have been a 10-8. Anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so Moreno really won me over in that fight, right? So I like Moreno, but at the end of the day, you have to take your emotions out. I love Figueiredo too, but you have to take your emotions out when you are betting on fights, of course. As I always say, sports betting is not an emotional game, and the people who are emotional will lose long term at this game. You know, it's not rocket science. Anyway, I just feel like Moreno is just a level below Figgy in almost every aspect of the game. Obviously, there are a few things where you could give him, I guess, youth. Maybe, I don't even want to say jiu-jitsu. To be honest, I think Figgy's got to beat him. Figgy's got him beat everywhere, man. Just like power-wise, got him beat. Maybe you can give Moreno a better gas tank, but people shit on Figgy's gas tank. I think Figgy's gas tank's solid, man. He does fight and burst. I think he's clever as he knows when to dial it back to maybe regenerate a little bit. But Figgy's gas tank is solid in my opinion. You know, that third round against Jussier Formiga, and his third rounds against Pantoja, he was putting it on them, chasing them, trying to win the fight. So, I mean, that was in the third round, so I don't think that his gas tank's shit, to be honest. Maybe you can give Moreno the better gas tank. But in regards to most of the other aspects of the fight, man, just like, yeah, it's hard to give Moreno much. And that's why I think Figueiredo actually has some slight value at the -334. I would cap Figueiredo exactly how I cap Cyril Gane. I believe Figueiredo should be about -400. He has about an 80% chance to win this fight, in my opinion. I just think that how the two styles play out, I just think that Moreno likes to get in a war a lot of the time, and we've seen Moreno hurt before. Not hurt like he was proper out on his feet, but we have seen him dropped, we have seen him rocked. I've seen him drop to one knee by Kai Kara France, and if Figgy hits him with the same shot France did, he's probably not going to drop to one knee. He's probably going to drop to his ass, and then Figgy can pounce on him. And we know Figgy's a serious finisher. When he gets you hurt, he usually finishes you, unless your name is Pantoja. So, yeah, I just think that Moreno got cracked by Kai Kara France, and Moreno has a willingness to, go blow for blow with his opponent, get into a war, and that's not the game you want to play with Figueiredo. And even if his game plan is not to do that, once he gets cracked a few times by the counter-striking of Figueiredo, which he will do, I think he's going to be like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. And, that's going to probably lead to his demise. I see Figueiredo getting a finish here. I don't know whether it's going to be by TKO, KO, or submission. I definitely could see a TKO, to be honest. Yeah, maybe not KO. I don't know. I haven't seen Moreno hurt that much to say that he's going to get put out unconscious. This is the flyweight division, and even though Figueiredo can crack, unconscious is a bit of an ask. But yeah, I can definitely see Figueiredo getting a knockout here. I know he got submissions in his last couple of fights, but I definitely can see him getting a knockout here. I can also see him getting a submission here. We know Moreno was submitted on Ultimate Fighter by Alexandre Pantoja, so he has been submitted once before. I can also see Figueiredo going to decision here. I really can. I don't favour it, but I can see it happening. And because Moreno's just so tough, Like, I know he got stopped by Pantoja, but other than that, he's never been stopped in his career. He's a very solid fighter, and I'm just happy enough to play Figueiredo by Figueiredo's money line here, right? So I do think Figueiredo will probably finish, but I think the line's climbing now. It's like -150. I think there's probably still some value on the line, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just more comfortable playing the money line, right? -150 says that he's going to stop him around 60% of the time. Yeah, there's probably value on that. I'd probably say he's probably more likely to stop him around 65% of the time. So I could say that there's some value on that. Anyway, that's the two fighters, guys. That is the free bet. You've heard it here. We're getting Cyril Gann at minus 400, and we're getting Davison Figueiredo at a minus 300, minus 330. And the parlay at the moment is coming in at a minus 160, and I believe that is value. So there we have it, guys. This is... I'd be very surprised if this bet doesn't hit, to be honest. Gann has JDS covered in most of the realms. The only way I can see Gann losing is Cyril Gane, I believe. Anyway, the only way I can see him losing is maybe by getting cracked by JDS. Obviously, JDS still has solid power. If he doesn't have anything else left, he definitely has power. And we haven't really seen, to my knowledge, Cyril Gane's chin tested, especially at this high level, especially by a hitter as solid as JDS. So maybe Cyril Gane has a glass chin. We don't know yet. So maybe that could happen. But other than that, I see Gane either knocking him out in the second or third round or actually getting a decision. I can see a stoppage for Cyril Gane, and I probably favour that. And I can also see a stoppage by Figgy, and I favour that. But I also believe they can both win by decision. So I'm happy enough to take their money lines, putting them together, changing a minus 400 and minus 330 into a minus 160. So there we go, guys. I'll be back in a couple of days with a breakdown, in-depth breakdown for a specific fight on the card. If you want me to break down a specific fight, please tell me on the comments below. Right now, my social media presence, my YouTube presence isn't super high. So if you comment down below, I'll probably pick your videos because I'm not getting a ton of comments right now. Hopefully, this free bet doesn't get cancelled like last week. We had Cody Durden, which was cancelled. If you want to get all my bets, because obviously I don't just bet on the free bet I'm telling you. You know, I send my members about 5 to 10 bets per card, depending on the card. If you want to get all of my bets and earn money with me, with a professional sports bettor, long-term track record, I've got the results and the reviews to prove how legit I am. All you need to do is go to my website. I break down everything there. I'm not like one of these Instagram cappers who don't post their losses or go quiet after losses or don't post bet slips or something. I've got nothing to hide because the service is legit. Just go down below in the description box. I will have my results there. I will have my website if you want to learn a bit more about me. And I'll also put my Twitter and Instagram so you can follow me on there too. So that's it for now, guys. Couple days, I'll be back with another video and I will see you then.